All right, welcome to the first video on Big Papa D Talks. I am, of course, Big Papa D. I've been all over the internet. You can find me at Big Papa D Reacts and on various other channels. I've been doing this for about a year and a half now, and in the beginning I vowed to stay out of politics. Well, things have gotten so crazy that I can no longer portray myself as authentic without saying what and how I feel. And that's why we're here today. Today's show is starting out with our buddy JD Vance, our future Mr. Vice President. JD's been making the trips around social media and the legacy media, giving interviews, out there fighting the good fight for Mr. Trump. And on Sunday, he was on Face the Nation. And he spoke with Margaret. What is Margaret's? There we go. He was Margaret Brennan. We're going to go over this. I'm going to break down how I feel about it, and you can let me know how you feel about it in the comment section. The interview started out kind of friendly, and it changed pretty quickly.
Well, thank you for having us out here to Ohio. You know, President Trump has said you are outstanding, but when you look at what decides elections, the vice presidential pick rarely matters. How are you going to prove him wrong?
Well, I think President Trump's right about that, actually. I think most people were voting for Donald Trump or for Kamala Harris. Donald Trump delivered rising wages and a secure border. Kamala Harris has delivered an open border and falling wages relative to inflation and groceries and housing and so forth. So I think that he's actually right, that most people, when they cast their ballots, they're basing it based on who the presidential nominee is, not the vice presidential nominee. It's just straightforward political reality, and I think Donald Trump's right.
So you were there to deliver some of the punches.
Yeah, so basically she starts out with, Donald Trump said that you were a bright person, but you don't matter because you're just the vice president. So it was like, what is that, the compliment sandwich? But you're supposed to end with a compliment, and I didn't hear the compliment that she added. They continue.
Well, I'm there to help define our opposition a little bit. I think that, unfortunately, Kamala Harris has run a campaign where every time she's in front of voters, a teleprompter is in between. She doesn't really talk to the media, like, at all. She hasn't answered, I think, a single tough question from a reporter. So, yeah, one of my jobs is to get out there and just make sure the American people know that this is a person who supported open borders, who suspended deportations, who stopped the Remain in Mexico policy that kept a lot of Americans safe.
Yeah, he didn't let her do that to him, so he immediately jabbed back there. Okay, so then she moved on. It got progressively worse. It built and built. I will say I have a summary at the end that might surprise you on this. So we moved on to discussing JD's ideas about child tax credits.
It would have failed.
So tell me specifically what you want to do to expand the child care tax credit, because it's like $2,000 per kid right now.
Well, I think one of the things you can do is make it bigger per child. I think we'd love to see it at a higher dollar value. And again, President Trump and I have proposed that. I mean, look, I'd love to see a child tax credit that's $5,000 per child. But you, of course, have to work with Congress to see how possible and viable that is.
Find me some
so
more
we
kids.
have a whole host of pro-family policies that are out there. And again, on the Harris administration, I got to push back against something a little bit, Margaret, because when these comments where I said parents should pay lower taxes via the child tax credit came out, the Harris administration immediately jumped and said, we disagree with this. The Harris campaign said, we disagree with this. So did they want the elimination of the child tax credit, or were they just being careless in responding to remarks that I made 3 years ago? I don't know. They should clarify it, maybe in an interview with you, but of course Kamala Harris refuses to do interviews with anybody.
Oh man, he took a shot. Yeah, that's kind of, it was like when Biden first took office. He just, because the opposition did things, he just got rid of everything. Didn't matter if it was good for the country, didn't matter if it was the right thing. They just immediately oppose what the opposition is for. It's kind of like, you know, if Republicans were in favor of breathing, they would, like, suffocate themselves. All right, so now we're moving on. Yeah, we're moving on to... Oh, of course. Where does every interview on the liberal channels go? To race. And she tries to trick him, but he won't let it happen.
That's what I want to ask about, because one of the supremacists who was saying things like this about your family, Nick Fuentes, an avowed anti-Semite, went after your wife. He had previously dined at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump.
Yeah, Mar-a-Lago's a big-ass place. There's always events going on at Mar-a-Lago. I mean, it was open... Is it still... I don't think it's... No, after he moved from Trump Tower, it's no longer a country club, and I don't think there's members. But there's been thousands and thousands, probably tens of thousands of people that have dined at Mar-a-Lago. Just, I mean, nice try. Nice try. Let's see what JD has to say about it.
Does this have any room in your movement, in the MAGA movement?
Of course it doesn't have any room in the MAGA movement, and of course...
You disavow him and this.
Oh my God!
Donald Trump has criticized this person. Look,
oh
I think
my
the guy's
God!
A total loser. Certainly
We're back to the disavowing stuff. We're back to this crap. So now we can look forward to, for the next 4 years, them bringing this up to JD. Why haven't you disavowed this guy? And he'll disavow it like 70 million times. And they'll still pretend like he never did. This is, oh my God. They're so freaking obvious, and their playbook is so just idiotic. And they still get away with it. And the people still vote for them. Man, it's crazy.
disavow him, but if you ask me what I care more about, is it a person attacking me personally, or is it government policy that discriminates based on race? That's what I really worry about, is bad government policy that harms people based on their immutable characteristics.
No,
Look, a lot of losers are going to attack me and attack my family.
No, JD, you can't do that. You can't do that. You have to care more about your feelings and how things affect you. How dare you? How dare you look at the big picture and choose the thing that's better for the country? That is, no, you can't do that anymore. That is not allowed. That's insane. Absolutely crazy.
I think the proper response to them is to ignore them, don't feed the trolls, and they largely go away. What I worry much more about is bad government policy, Margaret, because I think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, like I said, it's pretty much, you know what it is. She tried, earlier in the interview, she said a bunch of nice things about his wife. And she brought up nasty things that were said to his wife. And her idea was to twist this into basically grouping JD in with those people and how can you be associated with people that would do this. And what he did is, when she brought up things like that, he brought up the current climate. The current climate of division makes a lot of people radical on either side. Makes a lot of people say terrible things and do terrible things. And that wasn't going along with what she was saying. So she tried to, also a couple of times, she's like, you agree with Biden on child tax credits. You agree with him on, other things and that things. Trying to sow division between him and Trump, which JD's too good for that. All right, so now we were moving on to the labor unions. They love Kamala, I guess.
Because I think it's a bad thing.
Our latest CBS poll shows your ticket is down 13 points, 56 to 43 among
CBS
voters
poll.
with a union member in their household.
What network are you?
Why do you think there is this differential? Why behind?
Well, first of all, Margaret, I'm skeptical of any polling at this level because I think that you have to persuade voters. The poll that actually matters is on Election Day. And I think we're doing great with union voters, especially people like the Teamsters, the United Auto Workers, because we're the people who are trying to protect their jobs. Kamala Harris has pursued a series of green energy policies that would ship more and more manufacturing jobs to China, more and more energy jobs to China. That's going to destroy a lot of union jobs. And what President Trump and I have to do is make the case to these workers, union and non-union alike, that we're the candidacy, we're the presidency that's actually going to protect their jobs and protect their right to earn a good wage in the country.
How much you want to bet, if the poll's legit, which I'm questioning, how many of those people, number one, who answers polls, were the education, was it national education, whatever the lobby is, for the teachers' unions. They oppose school choice. They oppose basically any kind of rating system that would hold them accountable for how bad their students are doing. They don't want to teach your kids. They don't want your kids to have the best opportunities. And I'm not going to say, no, I'll take that back. A lot of them do. But the union as a whole is a lobby that is more concerned about bettering itself and its constituents than it is with their core reason for being here is to teach our children and prepare our children for life.
They love. I think that when people know about the policy difference between Kamala Harris, pro-shipping American manufacturing jobs to China with ridiculous energy policies, and Donald Trump, who wants to drill and actually open up American energy markets so that we can manufacture more, they're going to vote for President Trump. I have no doubt about that.
Okay, next she moves on to antitrust law and tech companies. This is another thing where she points out that JD is in lockstep with Biden and Kamala Harris. There's so many voters that are going to vote Republican no matter what. There's so many voters that are going to vote Democrat no matter what. In an attempt to sow division between JD and Trump, she's pointing out all these things that JD agrees with that administration in. But all she's doing is people in the middle who don't know which way to go. They're like, oh, this guy has reasonable things that more liberal people in the middle may like. So I don't think she's doing what she thinks she is going to. So let's move on.
They're going to vote for President Trump. I have no doubt about that. I don't want Google or a billionaire that controls Google that's in bed with China to be able to censor American information. And that's exactly what they've done. I think these companies are too big, too powerful.
Boom, there she goes. There she goes. Comparing Elon Musk to Google and Facebook and all those things. What he's talking about is them censoring people. Elon don't censor anymore. Anyone can say whatever they want. But of course, this is where she's going. The interview with Trump is airing as I'm recording this. I'm going to watch it, and then we're going to go ahead and do a reaction to it tomorrow. So keep an eye out for that.
And he's a huge supporter of your movement.
But he does not
censor. And he does
censor.
so much business with China.
One, he does not censor, and two, he does not have a monopoly over free speech in a way that Google has a much, much bigger company, a much more powerful control. And by the way, the presidency that started the antitrust lawsuit against Google was Donald J. Trump's presidency, right? So in a lot of ways, President Trump and I look at this in the same way.
They're on the same page.
We want good wages for American workers. We want Americans to be able to speak their own mind in their own country. And sometimes that means you've got to take on those monopolies. President Trump already did it.
Okay, so he noticed her nailing Elon, and he touched on it, but he wanted to circle back to that, and this is what he has to say about that.
Twitter, for example, if you look at its user base and you look at how much control Google has over the digital advertising infrastructure, we ought to be going after some of those incumbents. And certainly, I don't think that Elon Musk has any monopoly. He's not using his company to try to destroy competitors. And that, to me, is when something crosses the line where you've got to be a little bit more focused on antitrust issues.
Okay, as the conversation moves on, it gets a little heated. She brings up how he feels about the Afghan refugees, people that have helped. America while we were over there and how they got left behind. And he says that in theory he's for bringing over those refugees, but only after they've been vetted properly. And then we get to this point.
I ask you that because President Trump said a few days ago he'll suspend refugee admissions to the United States.
Exactly, because we're not properly...
But you're saying not in this case.
No, absolutely I'm saying in this case, Margaret, because we're not properly vetting the people that are being let in through these refugee programs. What President Trump said is very important. You cannot show up at an American consulate and say, I helped the Americans, go let me into America because I'm a refugee.
That's not how the process works, you know that.
It very often is how the process works, Margaret. The Biden administration has been scandalous in not properly vetting these people. Donald Trump is exactly right. And again, just because they helped us, allegedly, doesn't mean you have to let them come to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
No, they can't come to Pittsburgh. Nope, sorry. Sorry about your luck. I mean, if it's documented they truly helped, you can vet them completely. I welcome them with open arms. This is what the left media does. Whatever Republicans talking will lay out all these facts, and then they'll just say, no, that's not true. No, that's not true. They don't back it up with any facts. They don't back it up with anything concrete. They just try to dispel everything with a simple no. And then they usually move on to the next topic. All right, so he continues.
We know beyond a shadow of doubt that some of the people who have been led into this country are on the terrorist watch list. That is disgraceful.
I think
Trump
now
is
you're
right that we should
conflating
stop
a few
it.
different things.
No,
you are
he's
now
not.
talking about people who have come in through the southern border versus people who were vetted.
No.
Let him reiterate.
We've certainly let in people through refugee resettlement who should not be in this country. Absolutely we have. We have not properly vetted everybody who's come in.
Okay. So basically, he countered her argument, her strong, well thought out argument of no. And then he countered it. And then she's like, oh, you're dumb. You're thinking of something else. He's like, no. And he holds her to task on that. We moved on to China. And we'll see what she has to say about that.
I'm being wrapped, but I really want to ask you about China, if you're game.
Yeah.
Okay. So do you view China as a competitor or an adversary?
I think they're both, right? And I think that what we want to do here is build the kind of international order where we can check China. We don't want to go to war with China, but certainly they're an adversary. I mean, they know, for example, the Chinese know that they're manufacturing tons of fentanyl they're letting come into our country. Kamala Harris has done nothing about this. She should apply diplomatic and economic leverage over the Chinese to stop manufacturing this fentanyl, which then comes into the Mexican...
Oh my God. Number one, she's done nothing in general. Do you think Kamala has any idea how to apply diplomatic pressure? She's none, because she hasn't done anything. None. That's not happening. I mean, I know that it'd be in a perfect world, yay. People we elect could actually do things. But, yeah, that's not happening.
Drug cartels, which they then ship into our country.
The United States has designated
this is
some
a
of these.
designated.
Oh, we could do so much more. Fentanyl is not easy to
doubt.
manufacture, Margaret. And if Harris was applying proper leverage to the Chinese and to the Mexican drug cartels, we would not have so many people dying of fentanyl overdoses.
How do you do that? What's your vision of how do you do that?
I think you walk into Beijing, you talk to Xi Jinping, and you say your entire economy is going to collapse unless you get access to American markets. You need to take this fentanyl seriously, or we are going to impose serious tariffs and economic penalties for not following our laws and not helping us stem the flow of this deadly poison.
Okay, now after he says that, she thinks, oh, I've got him. I got his zinger. He's talking about being tough with China. I'm going to get him. Let's see how this works. This is getting towards the end of the interview, and she has to get him one time.
President Trump said Vladimir Putin and Chinese President Xi were lovely individuals when he was speaking in Montana last night. You agree with that characterization?
I think that President Trump gets along with world leaders, and there's nothing wrong with him complimenting them as people if it makes him more effective diplomatically. And there's an irony here.
That's different than walking in and laying down the law to Xi Jinping.
Oh, no, it's not actually, because you're better able to lay down the law like President Trump did if you actually have a good relationship with people and they trust you to follow your word. We have to remember that Democrats, including Kamala Harris, Vance attacked Donald Trump for having a good relationship with Vladimir Putin. Well, when Donald Trump was president, Vladimir Putin didn't invade another country. When Kamala Harris was vice president, he did. So maybe they should take a lesson from Trump's playbook about diplomatic legitimacy, because I think Donald Trump got a lot done because world leaders respected him.
Yeah, JD, as always, has been masterful. I saw the CNN interview he did a couple days ago. Absolutely torched that person. And that, I forget Andrea Mitchell, she is the biggest hack. She might as well go work for MSNBC. I mean, honestly, at this point, like literally, JD talked to her for what, 20 minutes? And he didn't say one thing that she agreed with, not one freaking thing. Because everything he said, she was like, what about, and this and that. And no, that's not, no. And then when JD tried to fire back, she's like, oh, let's move on to a new subject. If I was him, I would have stopped and said, no, you're going to stop this shit right now. You're going to stop it right now. If you do that crap one more time, I'm out. Because, yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous, man. Like I said, was never going to do politics. Absolutely was not going to do politics because I just didn't want, division on my channels. But I can't stay quiet anymore. I try to give my honest, like if you ever watch my music reactions, I laugh, I cry, I give you my heart, I tell you all the things in the world about me, things about my past. And I just felt like, how could I be real if I didn't share my thoughts on things? So here I am. If you're along for the journey, I appreciate it. Do everything you can, get the word out, because the propaganda machine is in full freaking force. And the people that think this is TikTok and a popularity show cannot be deciding what happens in our country. I appreciate you. Check out all my other channels. I have a main channel, rap channel, my music channel, and then now Big Papa Detox. You will see me again. Peace and love.
I can't believe you're still here. Did you fall asleep? If you liked this video, I suggest you subscribe and/or seek professional help. Your choice.